This is going to be a deeply technical talk. We've got about 45, 60 slides. Don't worry, there's no beer waiting for you at all. Actually, no, so this is story time. I'm going to tell you a story of why all of us are here today. More importantly, it's the story of Jeff and how we ended up here and how this conference happened. So historically, I'm one of the organizers of JeffConf London. In a previous life, I actually organized the first serverless conf in New York when I was part of A Guru, and I left that business about a month after that, and then just took some time off, basically. And in between, I ran JeffConf. So this is a story of how we're here. So our story begins May 2016, Williamsburg, Brooklyn. And potentially the hottest conference in the world. There's a few people here who are at that conference. We decided to have it in a black warehouse. It was literally painted black at 30 degrees Celsius, Brooklyn spring. It was about 10 degrees hotter than it should be, and we just had one fan to keep us cool. It was literally the hottest conference I've ever been to, and anyone who's ever attended that has ever been to. It was the hottest conference in tech that year for various reasons. So what happened at Serverless Conf? It was the first serverless anything in the world at the time. There were some tweets out of it at the time. It kind of blew up on Twitter. We invited a lot of people who had extensive Twitter following. It wasn't an accident. Lars used to tweet a lot more, so he was live tweeting it very rapidly. We ended up trending #1 in New York at the time. At the same time, there was this call for Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump to debate, so we got tweets like this. After that, a few blogs were written. So a couple of our speakers, a couple of our attendees decided to write about their experiences. Charity Majors wrote probably one of the best blogs on operations and where operations is going, or two blogs, you know. What the FAS is operations. I'm sure that's what the F means. And operational best practices for serverless. That's really around how operations changes for developers. And then Mike Roberts wrote what was essentially the seminal serverless blog post after that. So that's all kind of came out of serverless. And then some other guy, you might have seen him talk, wrote this thing. Serverless is just a name, but we could have called it Jeff. So one of the things that happened on Twitter, so if you were, most of you weren't there, but if you're at the Serverless Conf in New York, we had this Twitter wall going. So imagine just on the right of the screen, you've just got tweets coming live. And what ended up happening is the serverless term was incredibly new at the time. And people started debating what serverless meant. Lots of people who weren't there. And there was a lot of debate and a lot of people piling in who had no idea, didn't understand the value proposition, piling in saying, you know, serverless is a joke, there's still servers, you know, that's a running joke, as every serverless talk needs to start with a slide that says there's still servers. So Paul kind of wrote this response saying, you know, we could have called it anything, it is just a name, you know, and it's really much a broad name. So that's how the whole Jeff thing started, one little tongue-in-cheek post by Paul. And it's gone a little bit out of hand. So, November 2016 in London was the second serverless conf. I now left the organization, no longer involved. They had a Jeff track. They went to 2 tracks, and they had a Jeff track. So that's where the story, kind of the first chapter ends. So we've had the serverless conf, has kicked off the serverless thing. Now, in the interim, I started running the serverless user group in London. Austin Collins, who's started the JAWS framework, which became serverless, he had registered on meetup.com a whole bunch of serverless user groups in preparation. He thought serverless was going to be big for some reason. And one of the things he had done there is he created this logo, which everyone was going to use. I thought, oh, nah, we want something unique. We don't want everyone using their same logo. So I reached out to someone I knew via Twitter called Ashley McNamara. You might know her. She's a Microsoft developer advocate now. At the time, she was twiddling her thumbs at Rackspace looking for something better, and she'd come up with this project, Go For Us Me. I said, well, Ashley, you know, you've got time on your hands. Do you maybe want to do a logo for us? So, yeah, we have the first iteration of Jeff. So this is actually done by Ashley. So that's how we got our mascot. So another time, shortly after this, in I think about February last year, There was a conference in Amsterdam announced called Functions Conf. Unfortunately, I don't know the full reasons behind it. It got cancelled in May. So we were like, there's no serverless conference in Europe in 2017. So that guy again, Paul, on a Slack message. So, oh, by the way, there's a server Slack. If you go to that URL, you can join it. Paul put out in the Slack message on a Slack group going, hey, Functions Conf has been cancelled. Maybe we can just organize something small in London. So this was end of May 2017. So stupidly, I responded, and James Thomas, who was here, who did a workshop, also responded. So the three of us go, okay, let's do this. Paul found us a venue, but the problem was it was only available 6 weeks from the time Paul sent out that first message. So it's like, okay, we've got 6 weeks to organize a conference. And that's what became 7th July last year, JeffConf. It's Paul's joke carrying on a little bit too far. Then we had our Italian friends, Alex and Simeone, who are here. They attended it, there's Alex over there, and said they actually volunteered and flew in from Milan and said, hey, can we run one of these? So I said, oh, cool, go for it. So it keeps going. September 2017, Grand Visconti Palace in Milan. We get JeffConf Milan. And then this happened. Sunka, who's over there, we had a chat with him at the lunch break just before, because he was one of the speakers, and just before he was due to talk, and said, you really want to do one of these in Hamburg? So this happened. He literally changed his slides that day and said, we're going to do this. In September last year, and here we are, which is just amazing. Not that I can spell museum. So the key thing is JeffConf is made by the community. So first I just want to take a break to say thank you to the organizers. So Hendrik, Sunke, Ben, Suzanne. Cool. Why don't the 4 of you stand up? Stand up. Woo. So, I think first of all, every single JeffConf that's been run has been run by amateur. None of us are event organizers, so it's a huge effort, and you've got to find spare time to do this. And I think this has been the best JeffConf so far. It's been the most well attended and probably the best organized. So well done. Trust the Germans to do something right. But there is a problem. JeffConf. What is a JeffConf? Like, seriously, what is it? Is it a conference for Jeffs? How many Jeffs are in the room? You're allowed to put your hand up if your name's Jeff. So one of our taglines for the conference has always been one day, one track, one community. The reality, the one day and one track is not that important. The one community is. The key thing we've always done with JeffConf is we've said we want to keep it cheap. The first one in London was £35, one in Milan was €35, €35 again. That makes it accessible. And what it does differently to Serverless Conf, which is quite a high ticket price, is it enables people who are just interested in the technology to spend a small amount of money and come. We've also had diversity programs with every single one. And the team on the Code of Conduct have been brilliant today as well. And creating an inclusive community and creating an inclusive conference is incredibly important. This way of working, the serverless thing, is only going to take off if it's a broad church that accepts everyone. If we keep it as an insiders group of a bunch of white dudes, it's not going to help. So, this is where we're going. JeffConf is changing. The all new, all different JeffConf. Jeff is still around, fun and funky mascot. but this is the last JeffConf. From here on in, they're called serverless days. So this is the new conference, the new format. Well, the format changes, just the name changes. We want something to be inclusive. And from here on in, next serverless days, not necessarily the first, but the next serverless days planned is London, 6th of July. We're talking to multiple people to potentially organize other ones in other parts of the world. There will be a Milan one, and potentially another Hamburg one. And if you want to organize one, get hold of us. When I say get hold of us, we're still trying to sort out what the framework looks like, but we're getting there. The website's live now, but you can also just email organize@serverlessdays.io. Get hold of myself, Alex, Paul, Sunka, Hendrik, anyone who's organized one, and they can put you in touch with the team who will help you. We're just going to create a framework. You want to run one, we'll help you run that. We'll introduce you to speakers, sponsors, and just basically help you learn from our mistakes so you don't repeat them. So the thing is, Jeff's got friends. Because this isn't about Jeff, it's about everyone. So we've got a whole bunch of new friends for Jeff. They don't have names yet. We'll be stupidly running a competition starting next week to name them, because that's always going to work out well. Yeah, we're going to get Owl McOwl face and Unicorn McUnicorn face, obviously. So look out for those emails and on Twitter and that. All the new mascots were done by an excellent artist in London called Kate Holden. Follow her on Twitter, Darth Mongoose. She's quite entertaining, and she's also a great artist. There's also there's two serverless events planned in Europe this year. Serverless CPH in Copenhagen. Morton, one of the organizers, was here. I think he might have gone now. And then Serverless Days London. We want to add to this. We want to see another 3, 4. These conferences are about the local community and should be mainly attended by the local community. It's about helping serverless within that. So if you're not from Hamburg, you want to run one locally, wherever you are, not just Europe. You want to run one in the States or Japan or China or wherever, make it happen. So there's 2 more. So if you already planned this year, so if you want to go to Copenhagen, they've got a great lineup there. London, we'll probably put the CFP out at the end of this month. So look out for that if you want to talk. And we'll have assistance for speakers on that. And then, most importantly, there's an after party apparently. We're going to the 13 stock. Cool. What's the address? I don't know. Just Google it. It'll be there. Oh, there's a link on the website. So yeah, I think there's beers up there right now. That's me done. And yeah.
I just want to say a real quick thanks to some other people who gave invaluable help today. Fabian Steele, Teresa Holfeld, and Malvina, who's been doing the awesome sketch notes. Gerrit Rumpler on AV, Lars on sound, Simone Lucenti, and thanks to the museum for having us, and thank you all for coming. Thanks.